Final score in Paisley, Celtic 2, St Mirren 0, and Celtic progressed to the quarterfinals of the Scottish Cup and a bit more like it after some recent performances. This is Tino with the Final Whistle Show, joined here by James. James, your initial response to today's win?
Good cup tie. Good cup tie. Both teams going for it from the start. Maybe tailed off about the 60-minute mark in terms of energy, but cup ties like that, they're just all about going through. I thought it was interesting that we've gone 4-4-2 at the start and then reverted to 4-3-3 latterly. Still chewing over what I've learned from that. Maybe hard to judge with St Mirren being so motivated. It certainly wasn't flowing at any point, I would say. But, we took our chances. I suppose we showed when we move and break fast, we get goals. And that's got to be the big learning from today.
Yeah. One of the biggest positives for me was, almost regardless what Brendan Rodgers changed it to, was the fact that he did change it. Yeah. He's seen what we are seeing. It's not like he's stubborn and digging his heels in and saying, no problem here, we'll just keep as we were. He's identified, and it wouldn't be hard to do so, but he's identified that things aren't right. He's changed the shape and he's gone with that 4-4-2. So, yeah, what will be your take on that shape, I suppose, and the personnel involved from the start?
A 4-4-1-1, I would say. Kyogo was lying pretty deep, which is where his goal came from. Which, I don't know, maybe I'd prefer an actual 4-4-2. If you're going to go traditional, go traditional. Because then you can properly judge it. But yeah, overall, I thought we were organised. I thought the defence were very organised. Some of it was a bit last gasp. I suppose the formation, it let St Mirren come at us a fair bit in the first half, which we dealt with. But the shape's meant to help you with that as well. So what can we learn from that? There wasn't... The horseshoe was gone, which I was delighted. I didn't see it until like the 28th minute or something. I was happy with that. But I saw Joe Hart being put under a lot of pressure in a lot of positions with kind of poor back passes. Now, that's partly to do with St Mirren's press, but it's also partly to do with the shape that we're taking up when we're coming out of defence, which seemed to be different to try and break that horseshoe of doom. There's pros and cons all through it, but I think like you, the fact that he changed it to anything is a real positive. I don't think we've got the players to go 3-5-2. I don't think we've got wingers that dig enough, or attacking fullbacks that dig enough and can do both jobs. So we can are where we are in terms of personnel and that. So it's been a good experiment. It's always been a successful experiment. Let's see where it takes us next week.
Yeah, the horseshoe of uncertainty, as I like to call it, was still there at times today, but certainly not as much as we have seen. I think you're right. At different times, actually throughout the 90 minutes, St Mirren were able to, come on to Celtic and show what they've got offensively. But it does leave gaps, and Celtic, as we showed with the goals, can exploit them. So there's some and some, isn't it? You're sacrificing a wee bit in terms of your defensive, but it's opening things up moving forward. What about the pitch? Just to catch that. I mean, who are we to complain given the state of our pitch?
Yeah.
It had a pretty notable impact on how Celtic could play. There was some bobbles you seen early. Joe Hart nearly got caught with one. I think Tony Ralston got caught with one. Players losing their footing. And I'm not here to gripe about that because, as I say, pot kettle and all that stuff. But it didn't make for good football. It did have an impact on what we were trying to do.
I think that's one of the mitigating factors on judging that formation. That you couldn't really get flowing. It was only 2 minutes in. Scales put one through to Hart, and your heart was in your mouths, just with the bobble, and it happened all throughout the game. So how you're meant to judge your flowing football with a new formation when you've got that to contend with, I really don't know. So like you say, those in glass houses in terms of the state of our pitch, but it's early February, it's Scotland, it's a fairly low-lying pitch, it's going to be wet, it's going to cut up, so we just need to deal with that.
Yeah, I just like to have a moan, James. There's not as much to moan about in this one. I've been pretty negative and moaning in the last few shows, so I'm just trying to stay in that tone. Good to see the comments coming in as usual, and a lot of really positive stuff. Jim Hunter, San Fran Celtic, Northampton Tim, various other guys all seemingly pretty pleased with it. Let us know, guys, what you think in terms of performance overall, but maybe anyone that stood out for you, and we'll try and catch that and any questions later on in the show. James, there's no doubt that St Mirren, I would say, started the better side, and actually for the opening 10, 15 minutes, actually up to Celtic's goal, they created a number of chances, and they were clearly out to come at Celtic. They weren't going to lie deep or anything like that. They had a go from the very off.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of hoping that would have caught them by surprise a little because Stevie Robinson had been planning for a 4-3-3, but it didn't seem to affect them in any way. They were just playing their own game, which you've got to respect, and I do respect Stevie Robinson as a coach. So, it's good to see because obviously we're the opposition there. But yeah, it was a game. They brought a game to us. I'd far rather see that than, if that was Livingston, for example, even in a cup tie, we're probably looking at low block all the way to the 70, 75th minute before they start to, even come at us. So it was good to see from the off. It makes it a cup tie. It was two teams going at it. And yeah, St had the chances early doors.
Yeah, they did. But it's Celtic that go 1-0 up, and it starts with Callum McGregor, doesn't it? He picks the ball up pretty deep inside Celtic's half and plays a really sharp through ball to Louis Palmer on the left. Louis Palmer's been criticised, and rightly so at times, for the fact that, he'll come back in on his right foot and, things of that nature. But he said this savvy just to clock Kugo making the run from the number 10 position. It's a decent ball into him. Still got a bit of work to do, and we do get a wee break as well with the deflection. But as a team goal, it's a really good strike, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's the goal you want to see. No pondering, just get it moving. Cracking ball from McGregor, and Palmer's not messing about, trying to be too fancy or anything. He's just saying, "Where's my options?" And Kyogo's streaming forward, and he's making the option for him. He's on the stretch, so it's as good as a connection as he can get on it. So obviously the deflection just deceives the goalie and nestles in the back of the net. But sometimes you make your own luck,
Yeah, you do. What do you think of Kyogo in general? On two fronts, one in terms of being that deeper layer. You're right, 4-4-1-1. He's slightly deeper than Adam Ida, who's your point man. And he was getting involved in a lot of stuff, linking play up nicely and obviously opening the scoring. So I'll ask your take on that. And secondly, what's with the Nashers? What's going on there? Is he taking a wee trip to Turkey during the holidays?
Is it a real mouth guard? If that's his real teeth, then he wants to get his money back. They are wild. Jeez,
No idea.
Nearly blinded me. But in terms of how he plays, I don't know. Yeah, if you ask Kyo to playing goals, he would give it his absolute best. That's the kind of attitude you get from him. Is it where he's best deployed? Like I say, is he better next to Ida in a proper 4-4-2 rather than kind of picking up the gap that Bernardo's left and being a kind of auxiliary attacking midfielder? And I think that's a waste. I really do. I'd rather Kyogo's somewhere between my 18 and my 6-yard box at all times. So I don't know. It was obviously successful, but no, it's not for me.
Yeah, Forrest Finishing, who we know well and have good exchanges with on Twitter and the likes, he made the point that it's fine Kyogo dropping in to do that, and he's capable, and he obviously played his part today and he got his goal, but it's just still not a great situation where you're putting the best striker in the league, the best finisher in the league as your number 10 because you don't have the good options elsewhere. So again, and we do revisit this a lot, and today's not the time to dwell on it, but our failings in the transfer window, failing to identify key positions, is what's leading us to fudging things, playing players out of position and, hoping it'll work out on the day. It did work out today, but ideally, Kyogo, as I say, is the main striker in the league, the best striker in the league. You want him up there hovering somewhere around the penalty spot most of the time.
Absolutely, that's what he's best at. In terms of your transfer window, you're looking at 0 summer signings and 1 winter signing starting that game today. So if that doesn't tell you it's a complete failure, if that doesn't tell you it's a complete failure, I don't know what does.
Yeah, that's a great point. I hadn't even clocked that. It was too much to think about, James. Too much in my mind. But yeah, it's a great point, but a terrible point, isn't it? Great point, but terrible situation. And yeah, what does it come to? And as you say, between that and the fact that Kwon and various others, who's the Australian lad we've got? Marco Tillio. Various others have already been shipped out. The summer window is shambolic. But as I say, we'll not dwell on it because, we've got to look ahead. The squad is what it is between now and May, and they've done their job today and they've done it very professionally. What about the rest of the first half? It's a competitive game of football. I'm sure a decent game to watch from the neutrals' point of view. I've seen San Fran Celtic calling Gogic Zlatan Gogic due to some of his acrobatics and efforts. He's cracked the crossbar and he's had a decent effort with an overhead kick that Joe Hart's done really well to save. But we were under pressure at spells in the second half, no doubt. First half, no doubt. But Celtic defended well, and that's part of the game. So you've got to give credit, I think in particular, to Stephen Welsh and Tony Ralston for some of the great work they've done.
Yeah, I thought the two of them were spot on. Two really good games. I thought Scales was decent, but his distribution was very poor, which I suppose is where most folk mark him out in terms of weakness. I thought Bernabei was mental. Just Bernabei doing Bernabei things. So something really outstanding coming away. He looks like a footballer coming away with the ball. You always say, when your initial impressions, when you're either scouting a player or looking at a player for Celtic, is how does he take the ball, how does he pass the ball? Bernabei does both of those things very well. It's just sometimes the pass isn't necessarily like a Celtic player, and neither of those things are really his job. His job is to defend. So we've been saying this for long enough with Bernabei. There's something there, but it's tough to try and shoehorn him. But back to your point, thought Ralston was excellent. He had a brilliant ball in Farida. He was really unlucky to a wee bit of composure, maybe footing the ball, but he's through because it's beat the last man, it's beat the last defender, and he's going, well, I'm just going to swing a leg at it and see what breaks, kind of thing, and it's past the post. But some ball from Tony Ralston and Welsh, full commitment, clattered himself off the post towards the end of the first half, just to get a header out for a corner. So I've been wanting the two of them in my last two squads, first 11, and they've both been there. What they do, I suppose, is they raise the commitment level, because nobody's saying those guys are Europe class, Celtic class, whatever you want to say, but their commitment is 100% and total, and it's what's been missing from a lot of players a lot of this season. And when those guys are given their all, it means others can't shirk it, so that it raises that pulls you forward a wee bit more.
Yeah, and I've spoken a few times recently about Celtic really crying out for the scruff of the neck guys, the guys that maybe have slightly less ability than others, but they've got more character, more desire, more drive. And I think Tony Ralston and Stephen Welsh really fit into that. I think they do a good job for Celtic. I don't think they're top level, and I think if Celtic are looking to improve moving forward, they might need to invest in those areas. But for the here and now, in terms of doing their job and doing their job today, absolutely. Stephen Welsh going for the Chris Julian approach in terms of clearing your lines but clattering the post, but brave to do so. He's obviously picked up a bit of a knock in the process. And Tony Ralston giving you everything that you've come to expect from Tony Ralston. First and foremost, his game is about being robust, putting in his tackles, being hard to get past. But also he did show a bit of quality for that through ball to Adam Media that you mentioned. So, yeah, and that's, because Celtic come under pressure at times, it's easy to stand back and say, oh, this isn't great. It's part of the game, and defending's part of the game as much as going forward as at times. You're against what I think are one of the better sides in the league on their home pitch on a cup tie, and that's to be expected. You're not going to get everything your own way, and I think by and large Celtic handled that pretty well. While we're in that part of the park, James, I want to focus just briefly on Joe Hart. He continues to get criticised from some in different areas, and I think absolutely moving forward we need to look at the succession plan and who will step in from next season onwards. But he's been really big for us as a character and in terms of what he's been doing. Clean sheet there today, had some tough stuff to deal with, and I think he's a real leader, and I think he's stepped up over the last few weeks when it's been a wee bit tough and a wee bit negative for Celtic.
Yeah, I think he's felt the negativity, not personally. I don't think it's the last few weeks have certainly been directed at Joe Hart, but they have been in months past. But he's felt the negativity just around the club, I suppose. And as an experienced guy and as one of our captains, I know he's even vice captain, but as one of our captain type players, he's taken it upon himself to step up and lead from the front. Some fans just get it in their mind that he's not good enough, and he's not the future. He'll tell you that himself, given the candles in his birthday cake. But he's once some fans have got that in their mind, they have to kind of say every game, oh, he was terrible, and this, that, and the next thing. And it's not, you have to just judge game by game sometimes. And certainly the last few games, 3, maybe 4 games, Hart has pulled off some outstanding saves. He's probably responsible for the 4 points that we took in the last 2 league games, given his efforts that could end up in draws or losses. So he's taken that form into today, and he was everywhere today. He was coming out we've been critical of him maybe not commanding his box enough, and he was commanding his box all right, getting really strong punches and crosses, some really good saves, second ball saves. I thought he was outstanding. I can't give him man of the match because that sends out all the wrong message, but he was very, very good.
Yeah, I think so. Comment from San Fran Celtic on your screen now, just saying that 3 academy players, and that's McGregor, Ralston and Welsh, shown how to GAF, which I think means to care a lot about the game. And he's spot on with that. And on Callum McGregor, James, I think he's had a pretty good game today. He's, again, like a few of his teammates, come under pressure for underperforming in recent times. Bridle made the really good point in the pre-match, with the three of us, about the need or the requirement for Callum McGregor to drop that wee bit deeper and take it off Scales and Welsh, almost just take it off their toes early and then be the guy that's dictating the play. And I thought we've seen a lot more of that today. I thought he was getting it from them quicker. That in turn kind of stretches St Mirren, at least at that part of the park, and it allows him to pick off those passes to Palmer, to Maeda on the other side, and to really open things out. But I thought it was a really decent captain's performance from him.
Yeah, I think they've been in the tactics room, the whole squad, and Rodgers is saying this is what's going to happen. McGregor's going to take the ball, and when he does, you've got to move for him, because it's no point him taking that ball and then coming up against fully marked attackers. So I thought the rest of the team helped him with that today. I thought there was more options when he was coming out, and what he was doing also was just cutting out the horseshoe with that as well, taking the ball early from a Ralston or a Welsh maybe, and just cutting out the horseshoe, because he can find that pass, McGregor. I thought he was very good for a lot of it. I thought he was a bit sloppy in parts as well, but that can come with just taking on as much as he does. I definitely would like to see Iwata back to just be pushing him a wee bit more, just giving him that competition. He's the kind of the mystery man. We don't hear anything about his injury. It was a bad injury, bad challenge that he took against Lazio, and it was just when he was really starting to give us some options there. I thought he was really tidy, really quite silky in the six. So if we can get him back fit, it pushes McGregor with the options. You can push McGregor forward, or he pushes McGregor to be better known that there's someone who could take his place if the opportunity came up. But today was not a day for missing your captain, and he covered that part of his role very well.
He did, and it's important that Callum McGregor and every player know that there's somebody breathing down their neck, and that's where I'm repeating myself, but Joe Hart and Greg Taylor have suffered, if that's the right word, for the fact that there's no genuine competition. If they're fit, they play regardless, and I think Callum McGregor's in that bracket as well, and slightly different given that he's the captain, but every player needs pressure and every player needs competition to bring their best. But no, I thought he led by example today and really just set the tone for Celtic. Getting into the second half, James, Celtic kick off, it goes to Bernabe, and this harks back to what you were saying. He drops his shoulder. He's found himself inverted very quickly, drops his shoulder, takes a guy on, breaks into midfield, tries a flicky pass with outside his left foot, and we give it away. And it was just the most Bernabe thing going. We're doing a kind of players rating thing at this moment in time and just pulling together a wee graphic, which I'll share on socials after the recording here. I don't know whether to give him an 11 or a 4 because he just gives you all of this stuff. There's a good comment I'll dig out here from Thomas Dawson. He says, Bernabe had his best game today, didn't give the ball away. He did, but not too much. Do you think he could play on the wing for us instead of Maeda? I don't know, but I think what we can agree is that there is talent there. There's ability there. But I don't think he's ever a left back.
So is this the answer to our wing problem? Is to promote our left back? I know we have a problem, but I don't know. It'd be pretty damning on your wingers if Bernabe was the solution. And I'm not saying you don't try that, but we're going back about 18 months ago, before, since we first said Bernabe should be playing in a more advanced role, or tried in a more advanced role, because he's not a left back, and he's not. Even stupid stuff, he was fouled for that one. He ended up getting in, just jumping for the ball against Marcus Fraser, I think it was, strangely up there. And yellow and a half, an orange card for that one.
Blue card it'll be, James.
A blue.
Moving forward, it'll be a blue card.
I think even moving forward, some refs would see that as a red. Obviously, the refs should pick up the fact that, in fact, the line was standing right beside it. You should be just getting the flag up and saying that's a foul to Bernabe. But that doesn't excuse your reaction. You play the whistle and you don't put your team in jeopardy like that. So that's for me is, there's lacking instincts of a left back to do something like that in that position. Just go and challenge for the ball. see where he can get to. But I just don't think he's got much in the way of left back instincts, and that's not going to change. You're not going to teach him that at what now 23, 24. So nah, I think Taylor's back for Saturday coming, so that'll be very welcome anyway. And I'm not saying I'm disappointed with Bernabeu today because he gave us something. He certainly he doesn't lack attitude and he's got a good bit of dig about him. I just wonder how he channels it.
Yeah. A couple of comments. Kieran says he gets you off your seat. He does, not always in a good way. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. But he says, it might not always be a positive, but at least it's something. He isn't that much worse than Taylor. Never understood the hate. He does get criticism, but I don't think it's unwarranted. I think he's got work to do if he's to have any future at Celtic. And if truth be told, I don't think he does. But all he can do, is chip away, try and put in decent performances where possible. And that's what he done today. John Coyle in the comments says Bernabeu should be playing somewhere else. Now, I don't know if he means left wing or in Italy. So I don't know what he means by that. But yeah, I don't think anyone would debate that he should be playing somewhere else, whether it's positionally or club-wise. Let's go back to the action, James, and Celtic make it 2-0 in the 53rd minute. It's Diaz and Maeda. Again, Louis Palmer heavily involved. He clips a really smart ball across to the back post, again with his left foot. O'Reilly comes in, arriving late, makes a good connection, hits the crossbar, and Maeda instinctively just knocks it home. He looked absolutely delighted with it, James.
Strange one. Look at the goal. First of all, it's a cracking ball from Palmer. O'Reilly's taking it really well. He's very unlucky not to score himself. I'm hoping more on him later. We'll discuss his performance. But it's dropped perfectly, guys. Somebody said on Twitter, it might have been for his finishing. He's tried to keep it down and skied it in the roof of the net. I don't know. I think that's a bit harsh. It's dropped him and he's got no time to react. And he just lashes it and it's in. So, that's a really big goal to be scoring. And I don't know, like he certainly hasn't been playing well the last couple of games. And he showed a wee bit of that today where he was finding himself in space and just skying the ball into the stand and stuff like that. So I don't know, maybe he just feels out of sorts, coming back from Japan. Maybe he's caught up with family there and there's a bit of that. I'm not really into that personally. You're being paid plenty, so switch it off. And there's no one better at switching off and resetting and Diaz in. So we just need to see that from him. But great goal. And yeah, always celebrate your goals. They're goals.
Yeah, who knows? And maybe I've seen a comment. Obviously, we've come right on here to record. I've not seen any in the post-match, but I believe Callum McGregor was speaking and saying something along the lines of the fact that as a dressing room, they close off all the negativity. And they're right to do so. That's a job. That's a life of a pro footballer. You're going to get criticised at all times. Win, lose or draw. It's just part of the game. And it's a passionate game and fans always want the best. And I wonder if some of that's get through to Diaz and Maeda, and that's why he responded in the way he has. There's no doubt, there's something in that celebration or lack of. And I don't mind that, if he just wants to focus on winning games and, and getting on with things. But he didn't, it wasn't even like he was engaging with his teammates. As much as Diaz and Maeda can, he looked pissed off. You can never tell. He barely cracks a smile either. So it's hard to know, but it looks like there's something to that. But I don't mind it if it allows him to get focused and back on track and re-find his best form, because he scored the goal, which is great. But you're absolutely right. He shelled some out the park in some really good positions. And against St Mirren, the challenge is, can you break the lines? Can you get into that final third and get in dangerous areas? And Celtic have done that on a number of occasions, but we've been unable to capitalise because that final ball's just been so poor at times by Maeda would be the biggest culprit for that. So, listen, I hope it's nothing more than just a guy that wants to get focused on his football. Great goal, puts us 2-0 up, but maybe something to keep a wee eye on there. What about that? So that's 53 minutes in. We've spoken about Celtic's failure to kill teams off, but I won't be too critical on that, because I think, despite the fact that we ultimately couldn't get a third, and St Mirren have had some other chances, we've been in a decent position. We've worked hard to put ourselves in a good position in the game.
And they were pushing for the third all the way. I mean, there was a period, maybe late 60s, maybe 60, if you want to be extreme, 65 to 80 minutes, where I thought we'd kind of switched off, to be honest with you. I thought it was when the subs came on and stuff, and it just seemed we're going to coast this out. And that's never how cup ties should be played, because it's not often how they go if you're giving a team a chance to come back into it. And of that 15-minute period, there was about maybe 7 or 8 minutes where we couldn't get out of our own half, and it wasn't like we're under siege or anything, but the ball just wasn't sticking. Hart was being forced into long balls, which I suppose is, St Mirren playing high press, but then we're not exploiting that high press if they've got so many bodies up the park. So Hart's shelling the ball out defence because there's not enough options for him in his defence to bring it out, and it's coming right back in on you. And for anyone that has been a kind of critic of Angie's and now Rodgers' style of playing out from the back, that's why you do it, because when you shell it, you've got a 50-50 at best of winning that, retaining it, and staying up the park. And given our stature, we're not the biggest team, then it's probably less than 50-50, which we saw in that period. So I thought that was quite a frustrating period for me. But after that, they started to get the ball on the deck, started getting some passes. I thought Yang, at that point, took a bit of responsibility, started moving with it. Early on, when he came on, he beat, it's frustrating, he beat two guys, but there was, there should be buckets of options for him then. There was an option in Kuhn that he didn't see, which is poor, but there wasn't enough movement elsewhere. So, yeah, I think after that wee sticky period, we got the ball on the deck and we started to put some moves together, and we were unlucky not to score maybe even 3 or 4.
We certainly created chances. You mentioned earlier in the piece, Adam Ida's big chance from Tony Ralston's cross and one or two others. Let's talk about the subs. So Yang comes on alongside Paulo Bernardo in the 62nd minute. It's Louis Palma that exits with Adam Ida. And I thought Yang in particular showed something. You were potentially hoping for him to start. He got some good reviews from some of his work out in the Asian Cup with South Korea. And in one of his early moments, he ran the ball out the park, or he slipped down at the byline. But then he had a couple of very good runs. That one in particular you mentioned, where he's runs two guys out in the touchline and he's breaking down on goal. He's definitely got something to offer. He's also got a good shot away that Marcus Fraser deflected, but David Dickinson sees that as a bike kick. Nothing to see here. That's what you want, right? This is what all of the fringe players need to do. You need to come on and have that kind of impact. A wee bit better from Kuhn as well today, by the way. Not quite as impactful as Yang, but a wee bit better. And you need to go and have that impact where you're going to go on, be direct, get people up off their seats, create chances, drive on your team and see them out, get them over the finish line, whatever it needs. And I think Yang can be pretty pleased with his efforts there, because at the moment, you couldn't hang your hat on any of Celtic's wingers. There's nobody that's absolutely said, I'm your man. And why not Yang, or anyone else who decides to put their head up and say that they can be your guy?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, Dyson certainly didn't cement his place today in terms of wing play. Palmer, despite setting up the 2 goals, didn't see much else from him. Saw a bit of digging in the early part of the game where he was tracking back for the first time maybe ever. So that was good to see. He's been told that's, if you're playing for Celtic and you're a winger, that's your job. So it was good to see, but not enough that he made himself undroppable. So, if that being the case, Yang's put himself forward there to say, maybe I should be starting against Kilmarnock next week. Better, like you say, from Kuhn. Just a wee bit more positive, a bit braver, going with the ball. Both of them, I think, still lack a wee bit in terms of final ball delivery or shot. It's a wee bit panicky once they get into those positions. So just relax. You're in that position by your own good work. Relax and take your shot, get your cross, whatever it may be. But there was positives there. They're coming on against maybe a more tired defence than Palm and Dyson were, but they can't do much about that. So good to see, and it's competition is the main thing for me. It keeps the competition alive.
Yeah, it does. We'll not dwell on it today. We'll maybe catch this stuff in the weekly show on Monday, but Abada completely out the picture there. I think it's the right call. He's not in a good frame of mind for playing for Celtic at this moment in time. He's out the squad, and James Forrest, I think, wasn't even on the bench, was he, James?
Yeah.
So he misses out. So there's Vata, yep. So there's things going on with Celtic swingers, and it's up to somebody to really step up and try and cement, the 2 places, I suppose, that, they're very much up for grabs at this moment in time. As I say, we've made those changes around about 62 minutes. That was Yang and Bernardo coming in. Ida coming off at that point obviously changes the shape again. So you revert from your 4-4-1-1 back to the more traditional 4-3-3. I don't think it had any huge impact on how the game was playing. The game in general, I think it lacked a bit of flow from both sides. There was chances and things of that nature. and I think the park played its part in that. But I didn't see a huge change in things, overall when we went 4-3-3. But it moves Kyogo back up top. But eventually he's replaced on 75. O comes on for Kyogo, and Kuhn, as I mentioned, come on for Maeda. A lot of folk are hopeful that O might turn into something for Celtic, and that he's a better alternative than Adam Idah. And I know he's just back, but he's still very raw, isn't he? He had a good chance that he blazed over the bar, and not much else, if truth be told, from his 15-20-minute cameo.
I mean, it was deflected. He shot over the bar, if you like him, to be fair, but he shouldn't have waited for the deflection. He should still be scoring that for me. But that maybe even that's a wee bit harsh on him. But he does a much more. He's much more my preferred type of player. You saw a couple of times he got in positions where he's back to goal. I think he does got a bit of polishing to do as well. By the way, some of his stuff's quite raw, but he's got that physicality and he uses it. I don't think O uses his physicality as much. Although Idah does look to be a good wee bit taller. O's about 6 foot. But no, you're looking at Idah and Kyogo as your first/second choices, depending on the game, and O backing them up at the moment. And maybe he can count himself unlucky with being away for the Asian Cup, but also he's been here long enough that he should be coming straight back in then if he's been good enough. So, no, a lot of development work still required for O for me. I would be going with Idah well ahead of him.
I think so at this moment in time. I suppose it's good to have options, and that's what we've been crying out for. We should have options all across the park, and we don't. But at least there's an Adam Idah at this moment in time where Lowe's still finding his feet. And more positive news, and I think Thomas Dawson has mentioned it in the comments. Cameron Carter-Vickers back in the grass, maybe not too far away. Greg Taylor, as you mentioned, should be back in contention for Saturday against Kilmarnock. Rio Hatate might be a few weeks further down the line, but hopefully not too bad as well. And I think the key for Celtic is if we can keep ticking over. I know there's been some negativity in recent times, but it's 8 wins out of 9, James. We're still winning games of football, and we're still very much in the hunt to retain the title and the Scottish Cup. And if we can manage just to get these bodies back and maintain the results and improve on the performances, then it's more reasons for optimism than we were maybe feeling over the last few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at any hard-fought, hard-won league campaign, there's always going to be a sticky part where you just have to grind it out. And for those 9 games, we've done that. We're in the next round of the Scottish Cup. We're top of the league. We've maintained our position. If you look at the injuries we've had, it's been constant from day one for Rodgers. So there's never been a point where he's been able to pick his full strength first 11. So you're always managing that, negotiating that. So if you can get to a point, say, late February, early March, where you've maintained your position, you're still very much in the hunt, whether it's level on points or top on points in the league, and then you've got these players coming back, CCV, Taylor, Hatate, all that kind of stuff, then that sets you up to push for the line. So, the negativity, I do understand, and I'm not immune to it myself, but we might be just at a point where it starts to, the really tough part starts to dissipate and we can kick on.
I think so, and I hope so. And today's part of that, because sometimes you've just got to work through those kind of grisly kind of times where things aren't great. You've got guys out, you're not playing well, fans are getting anxious. The January transfer window and what should have been a very positive time for Celtic to improve on things actually became a really negative 4 weeks. There was tension from absolutely us amongst many fans, and that can get through to the players. The very fact that Callum McGregor's addressing that in a post-match interview tells us that negativity is around and the players are feeling it. But what I liked about the post-match, so Celtic have fairly comfortably seen out the win. The whistle goes, 93rd minute or whatever it is, and Celtic are well worth their place in the next round. I believe the draw's around about now. Somebody's Kieran saying it's now on the BBC. We might catch that. We'll on for just a few more minutes. We might catch that before we log off. But what I liked was when the players, as they always do, they go to take the acclaim of the Celtic supporters. You'll have seen them, James, all lined up. And there was quite a what I would call a steely determination about them. There was none of the dancing stuff, none of that, which I'm all for at times when it's merited. But I think at the moment, Celtic just need to keep plugging away, putting in professional performances. And I've seen someone described today as that, and I totally agree. Professional performances, racking up your wins and just chalking them off. We've spoken recently about it's now 13 league games to go. Can you just chip away at that? We're now in the last 8 of the Scottish Cup. You chip away at the next one, you're in Hampden for a semi-final. All these things. And I'd like to think and hope there's a strong mentality in that dressing room, because there's guys, Callum McGregor and Joe Hart leading the way, guys there that know what it takes. And this is where I feel Celtic have got a huge advantage in this race. Rangers are delirious at this moment in time. They've already got, one head on the fact that they think they're going to lift this trophy. And I think Celtic have got guys that know what it takes to get over the line, and they don't. And I think that pressure becomes very real over the next few games. And sometimes you need to win games mentally as much as with your ability. And I hope that's what Celtic are going to start doing now.
Yeah, I mean, maturity is the word. I think there's a real lack of maturity coming from every corner of Ibrox, from whether it's players, managers, supporters, commentators, referees, whatever. It's making these kind of comments January and February is crazy. I'd be raging if anyone from Celtic, even Celtic fans, were coming out with stuff like that. Not just in hope, but actually saying, "Yeah, we're going to win the league." It's you're in a race. That's it. And we've been over this course many, many times. 17 times last 22 years, something like that. So, yeah, we know what it takes, and we've got players in there who've been over the course. So that definitely is a massive advantage for Celtic, because it keeps the heads cool. It doesn't let anyone get carried away, and it lets them know the hard work that's still to be done between now and the end of May. So, yeah, I'm pretty happy if that keeps going on over at Ibrox.
Yeah, very much so. And I think, as I say, in terms of what Celtic are doing, I think they can chalk down today as a very decent day's work. And I hope the players are feeling just that wee bit better about themselves, post-match in the dressing room and when they leave Paisley this evening. James, just your final thoughts. And we'll obviously get into everything in a lot more detail along with Miff on the weekly show tomorrow. But for now, your final thoughts on Celtic's win over St Mirren.
Objective is to still be in the hat on the final whistle, and we are. Like you say, professional performance, more in terms of stats. That's 8 wins and 9 with 1 draw. Momentum's starting to build. Can't deny that. Momentum is one of the biggest things you can have going for you in football. So we just got to take that tough game against Kilmarnock, albeit at home. McInnes, manager, I do rate, and I think he'll be well organised, but we should be a bit more settled at the back. Certainly with Taylor coming in, just providing a more traditional left back. And I know Taylor's Taylor and all that stuff, but it takes a bit of the potluck stuff away from Burnaby. So yeah, on to next week. 3 points then, and we drive on for the title.
Yeah, on to next week, and already looking forward to that Kilmarnock game. It's the first game back at Celtic Park in a few games, so that should be good. Bodies coming back, Greg Taylor and otherwise, but in terms of the players themselves, they will be feeling, just as I say, that wee bit better after tonight. We'll find out soon enough who we get in the draw, and we'll share our thoughts on that on social media. But in the meantime, thanks to everyone, as always, who's joined us in the live. Thanks for your comments. And of course, thanks to everyone else listening, wherever you do. As I say, we'll be back tomorrow night with the weekly show. But in the meantime, enjoy the rest of the weekend if you can, and we'll see you again very soon.